kids did well. It's good to get to see them and get to know them a little bit.
We've talked about Evan Carter quite a few times this spring, but is there anything specific that has stood out to you throughout camp with him?
You know what? I'd say as much as anything is how much I think he feels that he belongs. He's got the quiet confidence. I never saw him nervous or anything like that. You could see it with his plate discipline. So it had to be good for him to play in a lot of games. I told him, I said, I probably abused you a little bit. I took him on every trip, and he played about every game, and just missed that ball yesterday. And so I'm sure he was getting more and more comfortable. But it's time for him to get ready to get his 3 or 4 at bats. He's a young kid. He still needs to learn a lot. I think that's fair to say, which we all, never stop learning. But every facet of the game, base running, outfield play, along with the hitting. So he'll go down and get those ABs and play a lot of defense and run the bases.
I think a lot of people want him to be close to the major leagues. How close do you think he is?
How close? Well, he'll let us know. I've said that before. But I think you look at what he has as far as plate discipline. He controls the strike zone very well as far as swinging the balls and strikes. Sometimes you even think, gosh, maybe you want to, be a little more aggressive at times. That's just who he is, and that's the hardest thing probably to teach or to get from players. So, with that said, that makes him, I think, really close because he's not a chaser up there. He's a good center fielder. He's only going to get better as he learns, to play these guys and positioning and those things. And again, he's fast. I mean, he can be a really good base runner, and which, the role he was playing here is hard to see a lot of that. But there's areas there where we've talked about some things, and so I'd say he's pretty close.
Oh, like his first at bat yesterday when he hit for the wall, the guy made a great catch. It was against a lefty. He got ahead. And he hit a hitter's pitch. To see what that was encapsulated, what he was.
Right. I was hoping that ball would hit the wall because he probably would have had inside the Parker. The wall's in play there, and as far as he had gotten around the bases, I'm pretty sure that would have been inside the park home run.
If you could compare him to maybe someone you've managed in the past, who would be that comparison?
I said a little bit, he reminds me of a Steve Finley. Steve was a really good center fielder, a good base runner, a good hitter, could drive the ball. I think, right now that's one that comes to mind. And that's a pretty good player. Steve had a really good career.
Bruce, I know lineups are going to change. So I don't care as much like day to day, but just in general, from like a philosophical standpoint, other than Marcus, who are guys who you could see being leadoff hitters or have characteristics that you'd be willing to put in the top of the order?
The top of the order. Well, I put Smitty up there. I know he's going to be somewhat of a role type player, playing some left, short, third, second. But you like his discipline, but yet he gets after a little bit. I put Bubba there. I had Leote there one game, but ended up not being able to play that day. So, those are names that come to mind offhand. I'd leave it at that right now, to be honest. But not to say that you get somebody like a Grossman who probably would be a pretty good leadoff hitter too, because he's got very good plate discipline.
I know you started managing to now. Thoughts on lineup construction have changed. You have Corey batting second, and 20 years ago that probably wouldn't be where you'd put a guy like that. What are some of the, I guess, the philosophical parts of lineup construction that have evolved that you believe in or you know you like compared to maybe what the thought process was 10, 20 years ago?
Yeah. You know, I probably changed a little bit, you know, with that two-hole hitter, too. I agree. You know, you want one of your better hitters up top. I've always liked a left-hand hitter in the two-hole. I just, you know, if that leadoff guy gets on, it's tougher for a catcher. I believe that. I think you have a hole there for him. So, you know, but it hasn't always been that way if you have the right guy. But, you know, with Corey, I think we do. I think we have a tremendous guy in that two-hole. He could be a 3, 4, 5-hole hitter, but I think the evidence has shown how important that two-hole is. And then you got Lowe behind him. And Lowe, I think, would be a really good cleanup hitter, too, a 4-hole hitter. But right now, I'm going to leave it like it is. But I think, you know, 1 through 5, you know, I like to think all of them could be interchangeable. You know, Corey could be a really good 5-hole hitter. I've seen him hitting a 5-hole with the Dodgers, so. But I think the way it's structured right now, which they used last year for the most part, I agree with it. You know, after that, you know, we don't have a pitcher obviously anymore, so you know you always like that speed at the back end, you know, because it gives you almost 2 leadoff hitters. I believe in that. There were times when I actually hit the pitcher 8th, especially Bumgarner, you know, because I wanted back-to-back speed with, you know, whoever's in front of Marcus on the second time around. But I'm open-minded, you know. I believe in moving guys sometimes just to break things up. You know, I've got this philosophy: keep doing what you're doing, keep getting what you're getting. If it's not going well, break it up a little bit. Throw somebody else in another spot. Sometimes it can get them going. Some guys are very much into a routine in their spot. They don't like to move around regardless of the pitcher. And so I think it's important you try to keep them comfortable.
Most guys like that, though, don't they?
What's that?
Routine.
Yeah. I've had others say I'm fine to hit me anywhere. You know, I think Robbie seems that way. You know, not that no one hasn't said that, but you know, he's a guy I think I could move around a little bit. You know, especially against a lefty. But you know, with he and the catchers, you know, I could move them around a little bit.
I know we talked about it, but now that we're further into camp, do you anticipate Garver and Heim being in the lineup a lot together?
I'd say so. Yeah, I do. You know, with the DH, you know, I like running with the hot hitter. You know, I got it swinging well, and so try to keep him going. But you know, that changes during the course of a season. We all have our ups and downs. But I think you look at you know, those 2 guys and what they can do at the plate. So I think it's fair to say you'll probably see them in there together a lot.
Did you find your emergency catcher yet?
Yeah, Smitty says he can do it. Yeah, he told Bobby Wilson, yeah, I'd be fine back there.
A little smaller than Jonah.
What's that?
So he's a little smaller than Jonah.
Yeah, get good low target.
You said that you thought that Seager maybe has gotten 1 hit this spring, before yesterday, that when the ship was taken away last year. Both those singles yesterday were pretty close, though, weren't they?
Pretty close. Yeah, they were pretty close. Yeah, because you know, really, they've most of them have been line drives or balls leaving the ballpark. So, with the shift wouldn't have made a difference. But I'm sure there's going to be quite a few this year. That's who he is.
Yeah, we were talking about this earlier. It seemed like the second one, I could have seen Jose Altuve out there, short right field,
Right.
catching that.
Right.
What you were saying a little while ago about him hitting second, went off the shift, it seems to make it even more valuable to have him there, right? Because just the way he hits.
When he hits, getting on base, fear factor. He creates fear in pitchers. We got some pretty good hitters behind him, and that's the object of the game: get guys on base and knock them in. And so I like the way it's set up, the way it is.
We haven't talked about this in a while. Have there been any further conversations about a 6-man rotation, or are you leaning towards 5?
Yeah, we haven't. Right now, we're looking at 5.
Okay.
So, where did you?
Good. Yeah, pretty good. I didn't know he had that in him. Pretty good. We got Beasley and Martine who can sing the anthem.
Gotta
Got
line
a
'em
duet?
up.
What's that?
Duet?
Yeah.
What about you?
No chance. No chance. Maybe I Walk the Line by Johnny Cash or something, but that's
And you can get down there.
yeah.
So, is everything good with DeGrom and Baldy?
All good, yeah, with both of them. Jacob, he'll throw tomorrow. He likes throwing on the third day versus the second day after, his start. That's kind of what he did in that live pitching a couple of days ago. So all goes well. Tomorrow, he will reevaluate him, but could be pitching Monday. So that's the plan with him.
What did you think of his live BP?
Really, really good. Went well. I mean, it was, no issues there with him. He looked like himself, talking about the velocity, using all his pitches. No, he's in a good place right now, and he feels good. I just talked to him a half hour ago. So, knock on wood, all goes well with him. He'll have 3 outings here before, he starts the season.
So, he'd be able to go 5 then in the open his first start, 5 assists.
I don't know. I don't want to put a number on it right now.
But it won't be
That might be a little high. But we'll see where we're at.
How's Mitch come out of his games behind the plate, and have you guys talked about an ideal workload for him as a catcher, at least to start the year?
Yeah, he's been doing well. We've been giving him 2 days off, and between his starts and trying to mix in a DH in between, but he's coming out of it very well. He's gone 6, so that's a great sign. So we're having no problems with Mitch, and so that's good news on that end. But as far as the season, I don't have a number on it, but I probably can answer that better once we start this season.
One of the things that Chris Young had talked about was tightening up defense this year and what the Rangers were doing over what they're doing last year. How does it manifest itself here in the spring for you? Is there any extra emphasis on things, or just the way you normally do it?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be critical for us to catch the ball. When you look at what we've done with this starting rotation, that's going to be one of our strengths. You want to catch the ball, and so it has been a focus, and I think every club will tell you that too. I mean, but I think something we know we have to get better at. You look at, last couple of years, areas you can improve on. It's one of them, and I think you guys have worked hard. They've done a great job at it. I think overall we've done a pretty good job of catching the ball. I love the way Young's been playing third base. He's done a nice job. Of course, Corey Marcus have been very consistent there, and Lowe, that's one of his priorities. Last year he made improvement, but he's talked about that coming into this year, is to even make bigger strides at first base.
And when you look at as far as pitchers and their fielding, what have you seen from them? Because that was another point of emphasis in the struggles last year.
Pitchers as far as their fielding, yeah. Well, if you know Mike Maddox, I mean that's something he really stresses, and that started from day one. It's so important to field your position, and I know last year they had some issues there, and in our game sometimes, especially relievers or pitchers, they can go 2, 3, 4 games without touching the ball. Then all of a sudden they have to touch it, and so we have spent a lot of time out there on the PFP, and you guys have seen it walking around. We have our stations, and they've been good at working at it, and we talked about it. I talked about it when I opened up with them, and so it's a huge part of the game. You look at the one-run games they played last year, whether it's base running or some fundamental PFP things like that, it comes into play, and so
And it's not just obviously catching the field, but also the mental part of it, knowing where you're supposed to be, after a pitch, fielders as well, guys,
right,
outfielders throwing balls,
right,
on bases, that kind of stuff.
That's all those things, yeah.
If you had a couple highlights so far at camp, things that have really pleased you, what would they be?
Well, I think the catchers, I'll start there. I think both Jonah and Mitch have done a nice job behind the plate, blocking, throwing. If they get a chance, they both throw very well. Our core guys early in the game, they've been playing very well, very crisp baseball on the defensive side. I think our outfielders have covered a lot of ground. I think we've shown our athleticism out there. When you look at Dolly, and unfortunately, Tavares, we've lost him for a little bit, but Bubba's done a nice job out there. You've seen a couple of catches he's made, and Grossman's done a good job in left field. I'm putting him in right today just to check that box off, but I think overall we've done a good job defensively.
Has Miller been in left field at all?
No, you know what? He had a little tight groin, so I didn't want to put him out there, but we're definitely going to put him out in left field some. He'll be at first base Sunday, and we'll get him some action and left, and I'd like to check him out at third base too.
I think before you guys played the Angels, you mentioned, managing against Nevin today, managing against Kase, two of your former players. Is that, what kind of feeling is that for you, seeing your former players and now managing?
Yeah, well, Phil big leagued me. He didn't make the trip, so I didn't get a chance to see him. They were split squad, but it's going to be good to see Kotz. We've been texting. We're going to try to do dinner tonight, but I can't. I got some friends in town, but it's always good to see those guys that you're good friends with. They played for you, and I'm happy for them where they're at, and so this has been the fun part of getting back in this, is I get a chance to spend more time with them and see them, even though they're our competitors. But it's going to be good to see Kotz today.
Are you guys three of you have some friendly bets going through the season?
No gambling in baseball. I'll have to read Rule 21 to you.
All right.
Have you seen enough of shifts so far to have an opinion on what impact they're making in the spring? Not non-shifts?
Yeah, it's and of course Corey was the one that's been talked about a lot. I think he's only gotten one hit because he's hitting the ball in the air a lot here. He's having a good spring, but he's had one base hit that the shift would have taken away, so not so much on him. But we've seen quite a few ground balls get through.
Talked about those extreme shifts that you would see move over left field or to shallow right. Is that something you guys will think about doing as a defense?
Yeah, I can see that happening. It's I don't think very often. You know, I don't, but you know, I'm sure it's going to be brought up to me. It was when I was in San Francisco, you know, doing things like that. So, you know, I'm not a huge fan of it because you know you're turning base hit into a triple probably, and so you know I know with Corey they've talked about it, but he hits a lot of balls down the left field line. You look at his spray chart, and he's got a knack of that ball away, you know, doing that. So I don't think we'll see as much as you may think, but I'm sure it's going to be brought up to me.